Depends on how long your answers are. We have a backup.
You have only one question?
Oh, no. I have a few.
Okay.
You know, the war has almost gone on for 3 years now. And, you know, it's incredible how you are holding up. But, of course, the pressure has also increased, as you said, from Russia and their allies. I think we're all also wondering how your latest military strategy is, and also how the current state of hostilities are. You last summer decided to do the incursion of Kursk, the first time since the Second World War another country have taken a piece of Russia, but at the same time we know that Russia is pushing very hard in Donbass. So what is the current state of hostilities, and what is this part of the strategy that you can share with us here today?
That's really not a simple question.
No.
If I'll answer with all the details, maybe it will be only one question, really. But okay.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. First and foremost, I'd like to say that we are still in the Kursk region and our military is there. The Russian Federation lacked forces to push us out of there. Today they have more than 60,000 troops there, the Russian military, on that particular axis. Apart from that, there have been 12,000 North Koreans, 4,000 of whom have died. And that was Putin's strategy, to drag one more country into war. I'll be frank, I did not... He signed something with Iran, and we did not, for the moment, find anything prescribed in there that can drag Iran into war, but at the same time, I sincerely believe that Iran has been dragged into this war since they've started to hit our infrastructure, our hospitals, schools, with their long-range drones. And they have also issued licenses to produce those drones in the territory of Russia. So I'm very grateful to our military that they are on the Kursk axis and that they have dragged some of Russian forces from the east to that axis. And also Russia wanted to occupy the city of Kharkiv. And that region is at the moment under our control. The people are living there. It was very dangerous, the occupation of Kharkiv, because now approximately 1.5 million people live there. That is a lot of people, and they are shelling it, and the people there, when you look at them, it's just admiration, because they work there under shellings. You know, they are working, they do not leave their city, they are very patriotic, very strong. We are very grateful to them. So the Kharkiv operation failed, Putin's operation. We managed to stop them. Then he wanted to occupy territories in the north again. He started the invasion from the north, invasion to Kiev, almost 3 years ago, as you have mentioned. And here he wanted to start with the north again and to capture a big city of Sumy. And then we were forced to deliver a preventive blow on the Kursk axis, and we have created a buffer zone between the Russian forces and our city of Sumy. And that is why now Sumy is under our control. In the north, there are no Russian and North Korean troops. They are all pulled to that magnet to our military on the Kursk axis. In the east, we have a difficult situation. There is the biggest quantity of Russian forces, maybe the most well-trained. They are on the east. They are pushing on a daily basis. You know that we had a big problem with at first was the delay in the Congress voting for the support, then the supply was low, and even the last year supplies, they are still on the go, I'll be frank with you. Yes, our guys are fighting, yes, everything is very uneasy there. On the other axes, the Russians have failed. What is the strategy? What is the strategy?
Yes. From here.
The strategy is that we must approach any sort of diplomacy that will lead, and I'm sure of that, to the end of the war. The issue is what this diplomacy will look like. If it is strong, and after this diplomacy and the negotiations, Ukraine has strong security guarantees that will prevent Putin from coming back with war again, then it will be a lasting, just, strong peace for Ukraine, for Europe, as I have said it, and to be honest, for America as well, for the whole world. But if the security guarantees are weak, if there is uncertainty and only words, then you will get from Russia also only words, and they will again come back with war.
Mr. President, in your speech, you were underlining that Ukraine is also playing a role as a kind of a bulwark against Russia for the rest of Europe, and especially in some former East European countries, there is, of course, a lot of concerns for the future, taken into account what has unfolded in Ukraine. And you argued that for Europe, this should be the first priority. Then you said, for America, of course, they have a transatlantic ocean between themselves and Russia. But at the same time, we know, and you know, that American support is also needed, since they have half of the military capabilities of the world, so still a superpower. And I think we're all reflecting now on what will happen in Washington, D.C. In the coming weeks. You met Trump many times. It seems that you've established also a relatively good personal chemistry. But what do you think will happen in the coming year? Is there, because every war has to end, so now we're talking about the premises for deal. It has to be also future security for Ukraine and no new wars. So, a question, you think you are in a manageable situation now in the coming months, also with the new Trump administration?
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, I would very much want that everybody understands where we and Russia have been in 2022, where we and Russia and America and Europe are now. It seems to me that this technical data is important to understand how and which support, how and what it influences, and what are the risks for everybody else. If we recall the full-scale invasion by Russian Federation in 2022, then we absolutely know that the Russian military contingent constituted around 200,000 personnel. They have come from the north with this contingent, with missiles, from the south, from the east, yes, but they had around estimation 200,000 plus the separatists that have and unfortunately still now control parts of the east, I mean regions Donetsk and Luhansk, the parts of these regions that they control. It was very difficult for us without anybody's help, and I am very much grateful that America and Europe have then stepped in But you must know that as of now, 600,000, and to be precise, 100,000 Russian military troops are on the territory of Ukraine. So that is 3 times multiplied than the contingent that invaded us in the beginning of 2022. So if somebody says that there is enough of aid, please compare what was back then and what is going on now. Back then, the America's aid was around 90%. Now, what our military has on the battlefield is 40% of Ukrainian-made supplies, 40% of the US, and around, so a bit more than 1/3 of the US, and a bit less than the US is Europe, and around 40% is Ukraine. So that is what we have now, and that is a huge difference. And when somebody is saying, how are you holding on? We hold on because of the serious increase of domestic production and increase in production in Europe, and also increase in production in the United States of America. But that is not sufficient, because we have multiplied our increases. Europe did not follow such tempo, and I have underscored it in the speech. So it is very important to understand where we are, how to hold on without aid, and what Putin will do. Now look what he can do if there are no clear, strong security guarantees. He increased his production by multiple times as well. And I have given this example. He has more than 30 factories in military sector. Europe has 45, but he is producing almost 2 times more than Europe. So you understand that he is investing everything. He is investing everything into it. But Europe is not investing sufficiently. And that is also a fact. Despite the fact that Europe has more technological capabilities, that is not taken into account the United States. And when you don't have the strong security guarantees and the volumes of the aid decrease, we will be forced to count only on ourselves and Europe, and that is not enough. That is not enough. It's needed that Europe and US be in alliance. If he, Putin, increased his military grouping to more than 600,000 troops, how do you think, if there are no strong security guarantees, no NATO, no military contingent deployed, no long-range weaponry, no weapons on the territory of Ukraine, how do you think, if Putin comes back, he will definitely come back with the army 10 times more than the grouping he had in the very beginning of 2022, because it is already almost 4.5 times more than it was. And when he comes back with this grouping, why will he come back? For the full occupation of the countries that are former republics of the USSR, that is number 1, and then he will do what he has done with our Crimea. He will be coming to other EU and NATO countries to stand there, to do these or certain, to issue these or those ultimatums, to make demands to the countries. Somebody will have to leave NATO, our Baltic friends, Finland, Sweden. He will be bringing us and you, everybody, to the world that lives in his head. This is what will be happening in case there are no strong security guarantees. One of the important questions that Putin will pose, and we will all see it, is to decrease the numbers of Ukrainian military by many times. You will all see that, because this is absolutely understandable. If we manage to make army 800,000 troops plus, it's understandable that we plus Europe, we are an army that is capable not only to withstand and to defend our borders. That is the army that is capable of repelling Putin. And he understands that. And the fastest way is to push the United States, that Ukraine is on the US, that Ukraine is not in NATO, and to push all the other allies that they push Ukraine, for Ukraine to decrease the army. This is what will happen. This is what he wants. I mean, this will not happen. We will not allow him to do that, but he will try to do that. And it seems to me the main strategy now with President Trump is that we really have good relations with him. But we nowadays have pragmatic times, and for us it is very important that excessive voices that are sometimes around President Trump delivering disinformation or pro-Russian messages, for us it is very important that Europe is loud, so that there are more voices around Trump, so that he clearly understands the details and the risks. Risks that can be in the future, and very fast. Trump, he told me, and he later publicly stated it, he will be doing everything to end the war this year. And I told him that we are your partner. We have this war in our territory. We know all the painful points. We understand how painful it is for us. We have lost our people. That is the biggest loss for us. We want to end the war this year. But not only with the word rapidly, but justly, first and foremost, in a reliable manner, for Ukrainians to come back home, to live in security, to work. And it seems to me that this is the most important thing. At least we'll be doing everything for it.
Mr. President, I just don't think there is a lot more to add. I felt
So it was not interesting, you see?
I was coming to that in the next sentence. I felt that the last piece was historic. I think you sent a historic reminder to all of us what is at stake. And I was thinking about what Winston Churchill once said, that the farther backward you can look, the farther forward we're likely to see. And I think if you have seen something in the past, you have a special responsibility for not repeating it in the future. And I think you feel here that there is a lot of support for you and your country in Davos. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.